Internets, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about the Daredevil Born Again Season 1 finale, and what a finale it was. I'm happy to say that for me, it absolutely stuck the landing, especially considering all of the stakes and odds stacked against it with the turmoil this show went through. I thought this really found a way to set us up beautifully for a Season 2, and I hate that this is an overused expression, but truly, as a fan of the Netflix show, as a huge fan of Daredevil, we are so back. This episode especially made it feel like things are really coming back together. But before I get into the actual review, please hit that subscription bell. If you're new to this page, I cover comic books, the books themselves. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week, and I review them every week right here on this page. It's been a few weeks because I was traveling, but I'm catching up on the books. But I also do lots of movie reviews and lots of TV reviews, especially in the genre space. Gonna be doing the second season of Andor next. Gonna hopefully be doing Last of Us. Lots of stuff coming on this page, so please hit that subscription bell, hit the like while you're pressing buttons, and also leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the Daredevil Season 1 Born Again finale. Let's talk about the show. Frank is back in a real big way, and I really think that was a highlight of this episode, was not only getting Frank back in a way that felt like that old rhythm between the two of them, the balance of morality and the look at the sometimes hypocrisy of Matt Murdock is so beautifully on display with the pitch-perfect Jon Bernthal. That dude is Frank Castle. That dude is the Punisher. He embodies the character so well, and that opening action sequence really made it feel like we were back into the swing of things with Season 2 of Daredevil on the Netflix show, while also being great dialogue, dealing with what was going on, and that undercurrent of rage, I feel like only gets better the more Jon Bernthal grows as an actor, the more Jon Bernthal grows on his podcast and talking to, cops and felons, and the world that we live in is so clearly reflected in Frank Castle through Jon Bernthal. And, the guy's got kids in real life. The pain and the anguish and the experience of this man feels so just on the surface of Jon Bernthal's performance. I loved that scene with all of the cops and the dichotomy. Throughout the season, we'd had the back and forth of Wilson and Matt growing back into themselves, being born again. Here, those men are fully back to being Daredevil and Kingpin, respectively, and one's now mayor. And I'm going to talk a lot about that in a minute. But I love that we got that one too, but in this case with the Commissioner and Frank. And the Commissioner used to lead these cops, as opposed to Frank, who represents something to these dirty cops. I love that we've got him wanting nothing to do with them and them wanting to be his leader, and the Commissioner wanting to do the right thing and being betrayed by these men in power, both of them not understanding what they need to be doing in that moment. Beautiful parallel there between the Commissioner and Frank, and then the pain, the anguish, the brutality. No one utters and has these guttural rage screams quite like Jon Bernthal as Frank Castle. So love that element. Also got to give some love to Karen. Deborah Ann Wall, there's such a elevation when she is on screen. There's such a grounding gravitas that elevates the whole show. All of her scenes with Matt truly bring something else to this show. When you add what her relationship is with Frank to that, there isn't a truly, it's not quite platonic, it's not quite sexual, it's this other thing that is so real and grounded and heartfelt. Her taking care of Matt while Frank takes care of himself and looks over the shoulder, the dialogue between the two of them, seeing how much he cares and has a hard time saying it, knowing that he was the one that called and jumped in to help, all that's beautiful. And then him knowing what he's walking into at the end. My God, I love Karen back on the show. Seeing her with Matt at the very end. By the way, there's a brief moment, and this might be crazy, but this is my comic Easter egg for the episode. They go into 266 as a storage unit, and this episode ends with Matt Murdock in Josie's bar and this rallying of New Yorkers to take back their city, which I do hope brings us Defenders, which I do hope brings us kind of a street-level Avengers feel against Mayor Fisk. But what I really loved was issue 266 of Daredevil is from the Nocenti John Romita Jr. run, and that specifically is an issue that pertains to having a beer with the devil, and it is basically Daredevil at the bar and listening to New York. And that is a huge moment for me in my memory of the John Romita Jr. and Nocenti era. Was a lot of editorial lived in New York at the time, and there was a lot of crime in New York at the time, and it felt like that was really getting into the pages of the comic books. The editorial team and the writing team and the creative team generally and genuinely putting their life experience into the comics really shone through in this issue of Daredevil, and I feel like that trauma of New York, and all of that is what it's going to feel like, the beer with the devil, to kick off season 2. So I'm not sure if that was an intentional Easter egg, but that 266 is a fantastic issue of Daredevil, and it does feel like how the overall episode ends. But that is also thanks to Karen. That beautiful speech between her and Matt. Matt and his relationship with the mask is always fascinating, and seeing it culminate in that dialogue, seeing throughout the season him fight with the devil to keep the devil in versus letting the devil out, him accepting it, the joy of accepting it, that costing him his relationship with Heather, the weakness of the relationship with Heather, allowing Wilson Fisk to get his claws into her, and now she's a commissioner of mental health with the Fisk campaign, and Matt clearly losing her to the dark side. I love also that Wilson knew, obviously he knows Matt's Daredevil, but knowing Matt saved his life in defense, which I talked a lot about in last week's episode. My review is on the same page. I love that there was that scene where Bullseye talking about defending him, and then the ultimate defense of his true ultimate villain is Kingpin, literally taking a bullet for the man. That being a beautiful arc of conversation, landing here with Wilson's inversion of true villainy, of him using Matt as a martyr against his will to up his campaign and getting rid of that liability. There was no return to, kindness between the two of them. He said, if you get into your old shenanigans, he's going to take care of it. He was planning on literally taking Matt out in his sleep. And I love that Matt then is defending, Frank not killing people. He's still back to being a true hero. And at the end, the ultimate sacrifice of him not being able to do anything in that moment. Wilson was willing to kill him. Matt was willing to die for the cause, but Karen being the voice of sanity of, it's not going to solve the problem. We need to regroup. We need to gather again. I love that Kingpin effectively wins this season. We're back to fully formed Mayor Kingpin. We've got Vanessa back on his side. All of that coming from this great Red Hook journey, finding out it's a free port, finding out that Foggy was killed for something he accidentally discovered. He was just defending someone, found this thing that was causing billions or millions, but soon to be billions of dollars in opportunity for the Fisks. I love that mystery landing. There was a part of me that was hoping Foggy would come back, because there was an issue where Foggy faked his own death, and that did seem to be mirrored in a bit of signage in the episode where he died, but I digress. Maybe season 2. All of that really beautifully well handled. I really think that what Justin Benson and Aaron Moorehead, the directors of episodes 1, 8, and 9, as well as producers on this series, was able to do, from getting the pieces of the old show and adding their elements. Like, everyone online keeps being like, well, 2 through 7 were the original, 1, 8, and 9. That's impossible. Vanessa was recast. A lot of characters weren't in those. So it means that they were able to put in scenes. Like, they're also friends with Lou Pucci, who played Adam in this, so clearly those scenes were added. But they were able to take elements from the original series, like that fantastic, in my opinion, bottle episode in the bank, and they were able to add elements of their overarching arc and then build something that's going to kick off an incredible season 2. So not only was Daredevil born again, not only was Kingpin born again, the show itself, the concept of Daredevil, is born again. All of that tying to the Netflix show, all of that tying to the canceled and then brought back to life new Disney Plus show, but also that is based on an iconic Daredevil comic book run that, if you know Daredevil, you probably know Born Again. That was in season 3, adapted very largely of Netflix. So I love that Born Again is as much about this show coming back from the dead as anything else. And that is the arc of this show, of Daredevil coming back, of Kingpin coming back. It's really beautiful what Born Again has come to mean to me with Daredevil in a meta and literal and comic book sense in this show. So very impressed with Punisher, with Deborah Ann Wall, with Matt Murdock fully embodying, taking on the devil again. That rallying moment at the end at Josie's felt so much like the Netflix show. This episode felt fully like the Netflix show to me in a way that I'm now more excited for season 2 than I thought possible. I was excited that Save Daredevil worked and we got a season 4 / a season 1 to begin with, but now season 2, because of this finale, makes me think we're going to go back to the prime A+ that the original show was. We have so much potential coming out of this. I give this season overall like a B-. I do think there were a lot of rocky moments. I wanted to invest more in the supporting characters, the new ones, than I was able to. But that said, by the end of the season, all of those vignettes that felt like comic frames of these characters realizing what they've done, of how they've helped Wilson Fisk take ultimate power, of martial law, of vigilantes being lethal, beautifully setting up all the stuff with Miss Marvel, by the way, beautifully setting up the future of X-Men. A lot of that, I think, going to be tying into Thunderbolts, as I predicted many years ago. That is the path I think they're taking, is making all this illegal by way of legal powers, which beautifully ties into Freeport and Mayor Fisk. That's another longer video of things to come. But I love that everything culminates in this moment with the supporting cast members that I didn't connect with as much as I wanted to, feeling actual emotion and going through things. And I think next season, with one cohesive story, we're going to get so much. I love how Gandolfini's arc landed. He's probably my favorite new supporting character. I really like that we've got a moment of tension with the cops and the people in cages, but I'm really curious if the special presentation is going to be Punisher taking up people that have used his name incorrectly, as any cop that has a Punisher logo in real life would, because that is not what that symbol represents. But also, what it means to have these characters justifying things, I think will land beautifully with the other avocado at law, our new, the person that took over with the firm, McDuffie, with Matt. I'm really curious now that she sees that Matt was right, what that's going to do in a richer character. Now that we see, the other person in Mayor Fisk's office, see what she's done by Commissioner being killed in that brutal moment where that rivaled the door slam, that insane, mauling. But also, even the hired goon, there was a moment of hesitation with him with the gun. Cherry, knowing who Matt is, I'm really curious how that comes to play with the moment we're about to get in Josie's kicking off season 2. The stuff with BB Urich. There's so much that we are fiending into, and I'm very excited about season 2, as much or more as I was to hear Daredevil was back. And that is high praise. That is a high stakes thing, to know that I was waiting on Save Daredevil to come to fruition for 7 years. Season 2 I'm even more excited about. So much love to everyone above and below the line in this film, everyone that made this show possible. Justin Benson, Aaron Moorehead, thank you for loving this character as much as I do. Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, Deborah Ann Wall, Eldon Henson, John Bernthal, thank you all so much for fighting to get these characters back the right way. Hearing that John Bernthal, fought to make sure that this was the right Frank Castle came true and felt true in every moment he was on screen, and it is so appreciated, as I love that character and I love Frank's morals and his code and his the hypocrisy and judgment, and how John portrays that is beautiful. I love Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio as these two sides of this fascinating coin. I love Deborah Ann Wall back as Karen Page. The show is so good. For me, a B+, a B for this season, and bordering on A+ finale, but a B for the season, leading to what I think is going to be an A season 2/season 5. I'd love to know what you thought below. Let me know if you thought it was higher than a B, lower than a B. Let me know if you're as excited for season 2 as I am, which, by the way, this show is still, to me, one of the best MCU shows. Even though it's not as good as the Netflix show, now leading into season 2, I think season 2 could be as good as the Netflix show, because it'll be its own thing without having to use other things. But that is still higher than a lot of the MCU shows to me. This is still exceptional television. I think Daredevil on Netflix is the best adaptation of a Marvel comic hard stop. And I think season 2 has potential to be right there with it. And I'm so glad season 1 was able to find a way back to that and be born again for all of us. Really something special. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Please, like I said, hit that subscription bell if you haven't and you're 13 minutes into this video. Please also hit that like for the algorithm's sake. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. 1 out of 10, A, B, C, D, F, whatever you rate it, I want to know in the comments below. And I'll be doing Andor season 2 very soon, as well as The Last of Us season 2. Lots of coverage coming, plus all the movies. How to Train Your Dragons this month. Sinners is this month. Those reviews are going to drop as soon as embargoes are up. So much love. I will talk to you. Actually, no, Sinners, you guys already have that review. I digress. Like, subscribe, comment, watch the other stuff. Watch this one. Thanks, guys.